This is SBR's Football Betting Daily.
What up, football fans? It is Friday, November 2nd, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, which means it is time for the Audible. My name is Jimmy the Bag, and I'm sitting alongside the legend, Donnie Rightside. How you feeling on this Friday, Donnie?
It's Friday. It's Football Friday. It's the extended cut edition here that we like to say, Jimmy. We set the table on Tuesday, right? We picked through a couple, stats, some information, who we think's going to play. Now you see it play out during the week. The line's moving and changing. Injuries are happening. Who's going to play, who's not going to play. Friday show, one of my favorite places to be, right here on the Audible, sportsbookreview.com.
Oh, yes. Sorry. Just hit a big bet in the Breeders' Cup, Donnie. I'm on the board, baby! Okay, but we're not going to talk about the ponies.
Show? That mean we can retire now? We don't even have to do the show anymore?
No, it was the chalk. But this horse, the Chad Brown horse, he trained Lady Eli, my favorite horse. We don't have time to get into. We need to focus on NFL. We got a great group of cappers joining us. Eddie Sanchez, Crypto Boss, Mikey T, Matt Lawrence, Anil Frank, Capper John, my man Capper John out of Soldier Field. He's white hot, went 8-0 last week. This is a great group. Art Hayes, Jaden TV, David Stewart. I am liking what I am seeing. Why don't we just quickly touch on what happened last night? The garbage fire in Oakland is starting to stink, Donnie. Are they an auto fade from here on out?
It almost seems like it, because there's no incentive whatsoever to win football games now for the Oakland Raiders. At least you have something in play for the 49ers, as you saw last night. Calling plays, great play caller Kyle Shanahan, down to his third-string quarterback, moving the football up and down the field. Derek Carr is saying all the right things, and John Gruden is saying all the right things, I guess, but he's going to be there for the long haul. They're clearly tanking for Las Vegas. This year and next year don't matter to the Raiders. They're just trying to accumulate a lot of draft picks because they have some seats to sell down in Las Vegas, the suites and the, PSLs where you're going to have to pay a lot of money for. It's pretty clear that they have no interest in winning a football game whatsoever. They didn't even show up against a pretty bad football team last night in the 49ers.
Oh, it was a horrifying display. Shout out to Yayas, who hammered the under. We got Moshe Bograt in the house, Ab Sports, Greg Sherman, and Neil Frank. I like this group. Let's get to work. Let's start with the Lions at Vikings. When we were here on Tuesday, money was coming in on the Lions. We saw the opening at -6 get all the way down to -4 at some books, which surprised us. We talked about liking the Vikings. I did not make it an official play yet. I did, though, add it in my parlay show that I do with Peter Loshak. I added the Vikings on the money line. And then as soon as we started talking about the Vikings, it seemed like the market did too. Money started coming back on them. There's fives, now -5.5. The total opened at 50.5. And it's been going down. It's been dropping. On Tuesday, there was 50.5, down to 50, 49.5. Now 49s and 48.5. The Lions are coming off a disappointing performance. Both teams are really. Tate's moved out to the Eagles. Their running game was completely stopped by the Seahawks. No rushing whatsoever. 13 carries for 34 yards. Horrifying. Snacks looked really good. Vikings coming off that tough loss, double digits at the Saints. You brought up some good points that it was probably actually closer. And if that touchdown before the half had scored, maybe we would see a different second half. I'm curious if you think Everson Griffin will start playing like the old Everson Griffin, or maybe we're dealing with and I don't mean to harp on someone who was dealing with some mental health issues, but is he sort of maybe kind of damaged goods? I hate saying that, but is it going to be a while before Everson Griffin comes back? And do we have any more information on the Vikings injuries with Sendaho, Barr, and Xavier Rhodes all week to week? Oh, my God. Sorry, I just saw that East came second. That's I just hit an enormous parlay. Lions at Vikings, Donnie. What are you thinking here?
Yeah, it should be an interesting game. I've been on the Vikings since, earlier in the week. I still think they're the better side. You saw them at 4. Now they're creeping up to 5, some 5.5s out there. Also, sportsbook.ag now showing a -6. I just think they're overall the better team. And it's, last week was a tough one for them. I thought they played pretty well against the New Orleans Saints, but you can't have devastating turnovers. Basically, 2 of them, Jimmy, that accounted for 14 points and really changed the trajectory of that football game. They had it moving in the first half. Thielen, out of anybody on the offense, making a mental mistake or an error, fumbling the football, which gave a touchdown to the New Orleans Saints right before the half. That sort of set that game in motion, and a little bit of pressure and a horrible throw by Kirk Cousins, which went back the other way for 6. In this game, looks like you're going to get Xavier Rhodes back here. Got in a limited practice on Friday. He was close, a game-time decision last week. Looks like he's going to go today. If you're a Detroit Lions backer, a couple things you don't like in the situation. Number one, you played horrifically at home and were completely dominated by the Seahawks. Now you're going on the road. It's a team that needs to win this game after dropping a tough one the previous week to the New Orleans Saints. Darius Slay, your all-world cornerback, shows up mysteriously on the Friday injury report with a knee injury and is now questionable to play. That's going to hurt. And also, what message was sent earlier that we talked about? Trading Golden Tate to the Philadelphia Eagles. Is that the end of the story for Detroit? No, it's not. But this guy is one of the single most reliable wide receivers that Matthew Stafford's had and one of the better wide receivers in the NFL. He's going to be taken away. And what he does, those rocket screens, those 3rd and 2 plays where you throw it to him in a flat and he picks up 5 and 6 yards because of how good he is after the catch, that's no longer going to be there. If you get Xavier Rhodes, he can match up against one of your other 2 wide receivers, whether it be Marvin Jones or if it's going to be Galladay, to try to take them out. We'll see what Matthew Stafford has to offer, but I think the spot here makes sense for the Minnesota Vikings. I think they get the job done by a touchdown here, Jimmy.
By a touchdown, that's right. So we should not be afraid of that number as it creeps up. It's now at 5.5. Do you think it will continue to creep up?
You know what? I think maybe what would be the ceiling in this one, Jimmy? Probably 6 in that range. I can't imagine seeing it go over 6, but I also can't imagine seeing this line come to like 3.5 as Detroit getting only 3.5 points. I think it's going to settle right in that range, 4.5 to 5.5, somewhere between there, and I think that's where you end up seeing it. And look, it opened up at 5.5, so I think it's going to end up right around that number here.
DT Doug says I'm fading teams that traded away talent. It's a very simple statement, but is that absolutely bang on? Is there so much truth in the simplicity of DT Doug's statement there?
No, it does. You're right, Jim. We're all human beings. Like, if your show's not going well, if your sales job's not going well, you get a knock on the door by the owner, whoever, and says, hey, by the way, I know you guys are having a tough time here, but I'm going to take your best wide receiver out of here and trade him out. So I don't know if we're going to win, but I'm certainly not going to help you guys win any more football games. That goes a long way in the locker room, especially when you're the Detroit Lions, where you're not a 2-5 team heading into this football game. You're right in the thick of things, and your ownership thought so much of your football team, Jimmy, that they ripped your best wide receiver away and sent him to another NFC opponent. That doesn't help morale, trust me.
When I look at this game, I feel like if the Lions are actually hurting right now and the Vikings are angry at home, I'm sort of leaning towards liking a first half play on the Vikings. Is that something that you would believe in as well? I guess usually when you like full games, you're also saying that you like first halves, but I think that the Vikings could come out flying in this one.
No, yeah, you're right about that. Usually there's something to it. If you cover in the first half, you're probably going to cover in the second half. Same thing with Major League Baseball. You get a 4-1 lead in the first 5 innings. Yes, bullpens do blow leads, but you're more likely to win that game than not. I would say the same thing. I would expect the Vikings to have the lead at the half. I don't think it's going to be one of those football games where they're down 14-10 at the half and need a miracle comeback. I think Kirk Cousins will get some time to throw in this football game. We'll see. Looks like Diggs, who was banged up early in the week with a rib injury, he's going to give it a go. Thielen should be okay. And also you might see a cameo appearance here by one Dalvin Cook out of the backfield. Pitch count looks like they're trying to get him 10 to 15 plays in this one. I would be surprised if he actually even plays in this game, but could be a little added bonus there for the Vikings if he gets in.
I like it. I'm sold. I'm absolutely sold. I guess that the market move concerned me a little bit on Tuesday. I was unsure why it had gone down to 4.5 and 4. I guess that's why I had trepidation actually making the play all week. Now I see it coming back in Vikings' favor and everything you're saying. I agree completely. And I even think that this might be a spot to double up here with the first half full game, although I've really been not wanting to do that. And as you guys know, getting the opportunity to work with Donnie has been very, very successful for me the last couple of weeks. And what's changed, Donnie, is that I haven't been coming in with my plays already dropped. I've been banging it out with you in the chat, and that's been a huge difference maker for me. Let's keep rolling along. Chiefs at Browns. We talked about this game and about me being very interested in the under. This game opened with Chiefs minus 8.5. On Tuesday, there was 9s. And it still sort of is in that situation. There's 8.5s and 9s. The total was dropping when we got here on Tuesday. 52s, 51.5s, 51s. We talked about liking the under. You explained why that would be a play that you could believe in. And I did believe in it, but I didn't pull the trigger, and the market has been bet up. And this probably makes sense. When you see this Chiefs team, when you look at them, when you think about them, you just have a vividness bias of Mahomes getting touchdowns. Also, Hill's off of the injury report. Maybe that is the big reason here. Jaden TV saying I'm betting huge on the Chiefs. The Browns coming into this game in a very interesting situation after firing Hugh Jackson and Todd Haley. I mean, we know all about the guy coming in and about his approach defensively and how on edge he likes his players to play. We've never heard anybody say that this guy has offensive ideas. I'm guessing they just stick to the exact same playbook. What do you think here, Donnie? Chiefs at Browns.
You know what's interesting about this game, Jimmy, when you look at it? Like, I don't really actually know what to expect from the Browns side, but I think it's going to be more good than bad. I mean, you get rid of Hugh Jackson, you get rid of Todd Haley, and now all of a sudden you got Greg Williams, who's already like, an odd guy to begin with. Now he takes the MO, and he's the head football coach, and he's in control. It's his defense. He wants to dominate. And then you put Freddie Kitchens, who's the running back coach, now in charge of the offense, and he looks like he's loose in that position, joking around. It's almost like some black cloud was lifted over the organization where it says, you know what? Let's just go out and play football the rest of the year. I'm probably not going to be the head coach, Greg Williams. Freddie, you can only help yourself here because if our offense goes down in the dumps the rest of the season, well, who can blame this guy? Look at the position he was put in with a rookie quarterback, and they fired half the offensive staff midway through the year. Something tells me that it's going to be alive in the Cleveland locker room in this one. So earlier in the week where you didn't get that vibe yet, where everybody's shown the door, now you can almost see a relaxed type of atmosphere. Do I still think that the way to get through to the Chiefs is keep it on the ground, maybe slow it down a little bit? Because you're right. The Cleveland Browns don't have those weapons to get downfield and beat the Chiefs deep, and you don't want to get into a track meet with Usain Bolt, right? So you're not going to say, hey, man, we're just going to run as fast as you can. Let's run a marathon, Usain Bolt, instead of a sprint. Slow the game down, see what's going to take place. I still think that's the way to go. Tyreek Hill, a little bit, scratchy there with the groin injury. He's going to give it a go for the Kansas City Chiefs, but there's something about Cleveland right now, which I think maybe a fake punt would be in there, maybe a triple reverse pass that you're not going to accept or you're not going to anticipate if you're the Kansas City Chiefs. There's a little bit of weird activity going into this football game where early in the week I couldn't get a read on it, and I thought it might have been a bad thing. Might be a good thing, all this regime change, because now the cloud's lifted on the Cleveland Browns.
That's a very interesting take and a little different. I guess that's what we get when we get to marinate in these games for a few days. Do you think that this market move with the total rising should give me any concern, or do you think I should back the plan that I had on Tuesday, even though we see 52.5s on the board now?
I'm going to stick the same way. Like, look, even though I think Cleveland might open it up with maybe a 4th and 2, they fake punt, or maybe a 4th and 1 at midfield where they would have punted. Now they're not going to do so and try to keep the football. I still think the game plan is intact from a Cleveland position that says, look, let's just get our big offensive line together. Let's get first downs instead of touchdowns. Let's see if we can cash in. We'll have 5, 6, 7-minute drives where we put up a field goal or at least a touchdown to slow down the momentum from the Chiefs. But that could all be for naught. Opening kickoff, Chiefs go right down the field, score a touchdown at 7-0. Now you're reeling from Cleveland. You can't stay in your game plan. But from what I saw last week in the Pittsburgh Steelers game, outside of, a couple, missed coverages, they played very well in the first half, and that game was a lot closer. It should have been, at worst case, 10-6 at the half on the road versus Pittsburgh. I just think if you're going to win this football game, Cleveland can't come into it and say, I want to shoot it out. So I think Cleveland's going to bring this game down and try to play it to an under level.
I do too, but Theodore McIntosh is on the over in this one. A very sharp capper. I don't want to be on the other side of Eddie Sanchez giving us a final score of Chiefs 33-17, which is just barely get us on the under. The is talking about how bad Cleveland's O-line is. DT Doug says, I'm not surprised the total is going up. Most people like overs. Very interesting stuff. This is a very interesting game. I love seeing this change. I mean, you called for it every single week, it felt like, on the show. And then you made very salient points about what a mistake the front office made not doing this in the offseason and starting fresh.
Yep.
very, very strange. And it just seems like the Browns just continually shoot themselves in the foot.
No, it's every single year, but it only starts with the ownership. I don't have any faith that they're going to hire the right guy, and I don't think they have the right GM in place. So until they clear house and actually sell the franchise and they get serious about winning, I just think the cycle is going to repeat itself. Since they got back to Cleveland, the Lerner family owned the team. It wasn't very good. Then they sell to Jimmy Haslam, who's been an absolute train wreck. If you have baseball players or former baseball guys having a say in your front office, it's not going to turn out well. Football guys make football decisions. Until they realize that, they're not going to be a very good franchise.
I couldn't agree more. It just seems like the two sports are so different from each other. And I know that we have this new era of thinking in baseball, but it's very hard to put that into football. And it just was crazy to me when they brought over the baseball minds from DePodesta and the other guys. It was very, very strange here. But Jake Bell says, I'm on the under here. Under's trend very strong in the NFL with a home dog of 7.5 or more. I like that, Jake Bell. Rafael Nibla also saying under. I'm liking this very, very much. And Jaden TV, though, giving us a final score of Chiefs 34-20, which would give the over cash. Let's move on to a very exciting matchup. Wow, these division rivals always seem to bring out the hate in each other. We're talking about the Steelers at Ravens. Steelers yet to lose on the road. Open Ravens -3. And as a lot of people in the chat predicted, money has come in on the Steelers as a dog. The total opened at 47.5. It's pretty much stayed there. There are some 47s on the board. James Conner coming off that monster game. This was the week that we thought much earlier, we thought Le'Veon Bell would be back. I'm extremely impressed with James Conner and proud of him. Yai is coming in with a Pittsburgh +3 best bet. This Ravens D got destroyed, sliced and diced by the Panthers. I'm looking forward to hear your breakdown after sitting on this for a few games. One question, Donnie, can the Ravens keep giving the ball to Collins? I mean, he's just having bad game after bad game after bad game. Very interesting stuff happening in Baltimore. Should the Ravens fans and backers start panicking after this past week?
Interesting about that you say that because in the very first drive last week with the Ravens went right down the field like a hot knife through butter. And guess who scored the touchdown on a very nice run, shaking off tackles and getting in the end zone? Alex Collins. But then again, he makes that huge error. Probably the play of the game, Jimmy, was a 7-7. They hand the football off. He fumbles it. Next thing you know, Carolina goes in. Having watched that football game, though, you don't like to take too much out of losses like that because Cam Newton was very good in that game, but every single bounce in that football game went the Carolina Panthers' way. If you looked early in the game, there was a 3rd and 1 where Lamar Jackson came in the football game where they were on their own 9-yard line. He ran a read option play, had a guy wide open streaking down. I believe it was Willie Snead. He hits that play. It's a 40 or 50-yard gain. They're on the move after already being up 7-0, up by around midfield. The very next play, they have a procedural penalty on a fake punt on their own 9-yard line that they got the first down on. And then as you saw later in the game goes, the deflection that McCaffrey caught as a touchdown. 90% of the time, Jimmy, that's an interception going back the other way and stalls that out. There was a 3rd and 1 pitch that went right back that hit the ground to the running back, able to get a first down. Baltimore got a lot of breaks go against them there. Now you're here in the similar situation. Look at all the game. At Pittsburgh, 3-point line. At Cleveland, 3.5. At Tennessee, 2.5. New Orleans, 2.5. Carolina, 2.5. It seems like every week Carolina is playing this favorite role of, Baltimore's playing this favorite role of -2.5. They are a good home team, and I think they match up very well with the Pittsburgh Steelers. You saw a couple weeks ago, they dominated Pittsburgh in that football game. Now, Pittsburgh a little bit healthier on the offensive line. James Conner coming into his own. Big Ben, he does have that fractured finger, but it's on the offhand, not the throwing hand. I just think the Ravens should be able to come up and rise up. I'm always one of those guys that says, look, man, if you're going to take 75% or more of the wagers on a road team in a game that's 3 points or less, I'm going to lean on the home team. Don't know if I'll be involved in this game, but if I am, I'm trying to find a way to take the Ravens here at home with a short number.
Yeah, I remember you saying that and believing in that, and that's why I was surprised when this chat erupted after Yaya saying Pittsburgh +3 best bet. It was just Other than Theodore McIntosh, it was Brian Watson, Pittsburgh +3. Moshe Bograt, Steelers are rolling. Eddie Sanchez, Steelers win. Odar Lira, my man from Venezuela, says, good afternoon. I like the Steelers in the full game over. Jake Bell, Steelers roll off the bye. Jaden TV, Steelers huge money line. I think you made some very important points there. I really do. I think that the Ravens weren't completely outclassed by Carolina, and the Ravens are a home team that you're basically just asking to win the game. I'm sure that you find this -2.5 line way more appealing than a -3. I hear what you're saying. There's talk here about the total. Jaden TV as Steelers win 21-20. That would go under. Theodore McIntosh looking for an over here. What do you think about this total? It's pretty much stayed where it's been all week long.
Yeah, I think it's about right. And, these games typically in the past have trended more unders than overs. And I believe the first game, would it end up 40 total points? I could see more along that line because what gave the Ravens such an issue last week was Cam Newton. It's because there's not really a speed rushing aspect from the Baltimore Ravens. They're more of a tough edge rush where we're going to collapse the pocket and eventually get to you. And if you've seen anything about Big Ben out there, when he starts to get in trouble, especially later in his career, he tends just to throw the ball up for grabs over the middle, holds onto the ball too long, strip sack, fumble. The offense last week for Carolina was amazing. They didn't get anywhere near Cam Newton, and when they did, he ran for 15, 20 yards, and the read option was just really wreaking havoc with Martindale's defense. But that's not going to be the case. You know where Big Ben's going to be, Jimmy. He's going to be right in the middle. Can they collapse that pocket and get after it with more of a hardcore pass rush as opposed to speed rushing type guys? I think they can do that this weekend. It's going to be a good one, and that's why we're breaking this game down. I just think there's a lot of public support on Pittsburgh. And look, this is coming from a guy that before the Tampa Bay game, Jimmy, I said, look, it might be worth a flyer to take the Steelers to win this division because I still think they're the best overall team, and I still do. But it's a tough environment with a team that absolutely must win this game. Steelers are going to be on top of the division. If they win this game, they can put another nail in the Ravens. I think the Ravens are going to have something to say about that.
That is some great points there. Jake Bell saying the Steelers have been hot against the spread on the road. Their D is getting better. They're going to be motivated to come here and get a win. Lucky Luciano saying Donnie has a point. I'm going against the Steelers and the public. That Fire TV says the Ravens are banged up. When we take a look at their injury report, they got Alex Collins with a foot, but says he will likely play. And then in October alone, they've lost Marlon Humphrey, Willie Henry, and then on the offensive line, James Hurst and Alex Lewis. When you think about this Ravens squad, do you feel they're a banged-up group?
No, they are a banged-up group. They are. But, I mean, the guys behind them are still going to get paychecks. The important guys, I would like to say, on defense are still there, and they know each other rather well. They did a very good job in the first game on the road in the tough environment with Pittsburgh to pull away late in that football game. And, again, we like to bet spots in the NFL here. There's no tomorrow for the Ravens if they take an L in this football game, and I do think they know that. Let's see what Big Ben has to offer. And also keep in mind, when you're a huge quarterback, 6'5", and I don't care what they say, Big Ben looks like he's about 300 pounds. He's not going to be able to get under center and quarterback sneak the football with a broken hand, so that might play into it. You saw him quarterback sneak a few times last week versus the Cleveland Browns, one of the best plays in football on third and less than a half yard or fourth down. That's not going to be available in this football game, so keep an eye on that too.
Yeah, funny. The more we talk about it, the more I feel like the Ravens should be a play. Do you think that if we wait, this line could even become more appealing towards the Ravens? Do you think more public money comes in on the Steelers?
It'll be hard. Look, now you're getting into dangerous territory. If you're looking at this football game and saying, like, Baltimore is going to go to, like, -1, I don't think it gets there. I think you're more likely to see a -3 go back with maybe +105 or -105 than you would to see this line slip to, like, a 2 or 1.5 at that point, because there is a basis for Baltimore at home usually being a really good football team, and I think it's going to play into it, especially after getting a tough one. Look, you're not looking at a Ravens team saying, we're 6-1, let's just see what happens, and Pittsburgh has revenge here. They lost 2 straight games here in tough fashion. They're going to need to snap back and win this football game, and I think they understand that.
I agree. So you think if you want the Ravens, take them now at 2.5?
I think you're more likely to see a 3 than what I'd like. Exactly. Cool. It's more likely to go to 3 than 1.5, so you're probably more likely to get it now. And I don't think that's going to matter anyway, because as long as it's under 2.5, you'll probably see a close football game that's going to end between 3 and 7 points anyway. So I don't think that'll be a determining factor.
Let's keep rolling along. This is an over that we talked about that I became more and more and more excited about. I made it an official play on the show. I got over 55 at minus 103, but I haven't bet it yet. And it's 55s across the board, so that hasn't hurt me yet. I probably should get to betting it. I've been a little overwhelmed with the Breeders' Cup. I'm talking about the Buccaneers at the Panthers. Open Panthers minus 5.5. On Tuesday, Donnie, there were 7s. Now that's come back to earth. They're minus 6s and minus 6.5s. 55 is the total across the board. Panthers coming off that giant win against the Ravens. Newton, 21 for 29, 219 yards, 2 TDs. This Panthers D swarmed the Ravens. The Bucs are going back to Fitzmagic. I think that is the right move to make. I have never liked Jameis Winston's character. I think it's affected. I'm not entirely sure what goes on with him and Deshaun Jackson because they never seem to roll. And then as soon as Fitzmagic is behind center, Deshaun Jackson starts having these monster games. I'm really into this over. Jim Tobleson says smash the over. Ab Sports says over and Panthers in a teaser. You were breaking this game down, and the more you broke it down on Tuesday, the more excited I got about this over. Are you still feeling the same way, and have you made a decision or an angle on the side here?
Yeah, I mean, look, Fitzpatrick is he's the reason why I talk about boom or bust. It only goes one way. You know what I mean? He's going to throw a touchdown. He's going to throw an incomplete pass. Or he's going to throw an interception. What is there not to like about that? And then you couple it with a defense that can't stop anything. They can't stop the run. They can't stop the pass. Cam Newton is going to sit back there all day long. And if he wants to survey the field, if he wants to run read option, dump it down in the flat. North Turner, for all the guff that he gets, he's calling pretty good games for the Carolina Panthers and a lot of innovative stuff, keeping the defense off balance. You're seeing reverses out there, rocket screens. You're getting McCaffrey involved in the passing game. I like what I see, and it doesn't hurt that Olsen's coming back healthy and making plays. There were a couple dots last week that Cam Newton threw in the tight coverage for big plays. I think it's going to be more of the same. You're more likely here to get an over than an under, even though it is a division game. These two teams know each other. But anytime you get Fitzpatrick in the game, it automatically turns because he doesn't care. It's 3rd and 1. He's throwing a jump ball to Mike Evans 50 yards down the field. If there's going to be a shot where Deshaun Jackson is one-on-one, he's letting it air out. And in the NFL, it's built for the big play. It's built for the turnover. It's built for the pass interference play call. I love it when Fitzpatrick's out there. And we joked about it earlier. How many times is Carolina going to punt in this football game if they have a decent offensive series that they're going to put out? I don't see very many times. I would be shocked if one team doesn't play well into the 30s in this football game.
I agree. And now that I'm seeing 6s on the board, I find that pretty appealing for the Carolina Panthers. But as you broke down the Ravens-Panthers game, maybe I was just not seeing that game as clearly as I should have. Maybe that score flattered. What do you find the Panthers appealing here at minus 6?
It's interesting. I saw it at 7, and I thought it made sense. Like, no, they're going to whack them. But the one thing that's interesting in the NFL is unless, like, Ryan Fitzpatrick can go, he was.
We're dealing with a little bit of connection problems, Donnie. I don't know if you guys are getting that right here. We have
Can you still hear me?
I see a frozen Donnie on the screen. Rafa, we dealing with some issues over there? Can you look into it?
Let me reset my real quick here. Let me see.
Yeah, no worries. No worries.
Changes.
This was the most appealing total on the board to me. But I'm telling you, after we broke down, oh, good, we got Donnie back. After we broke down that Bills-Bears game, I found that extremely appealing, that over there. Let me hear this, though, Donnie, now that we got you back, and I believe we do. Panthers minus 6. We started hearing that you were saying that you saw the 7 on the board. You thought it made sense.
No, I thought it made sense at first when you're looking through, but then when you do a little bit of homework, as long as you get good Fitzpatrick out there, and what I mean by that is not implosion Fitzpatrick. He's going to throw and throw and throw and throw to its end. Excuse me. If they're down 16 points in the fourth quarter, he's still going to be lofting it up. Didn't you see the game last week for Cincinnati? That team was dead and buried. He comes in the football game, and all of a sudden, you can't stop and get Tampa Bay off the field. He's always going to be in it. I don't know if Carolina can run away with the football game and be up 21 points and just embarrass Tampa Bay because it is a division game. But if they're going to be in it, 10 points, 14 points in the fourth quarter, Fitzpatrick is going to keep throwing. There's something to me that says there's a reason why that line dropped from 7 to 6.5, and maybe it's because Fitzpatrick's always going to keep them involved in this game.
Yeah, you brought that up on Tuesday. You brought up the backdoor cover, how capable he is of that. Well, very exciting. I see the whale capper on the screen. Not nearly as cool as Hawaii last week with the ocean in the background, but a good-looking shirt. You never cease to make us jealous of wherever you are, whale capper. I am 17-6 in the last 2 weeks, 17-6, buddy, and that is all with your guys' help. I'm not working with you guys is an honor, and it's showing in less haters. First of all, less haters and more money in my pocket. Whale capper, how you doing, pal?
I'm terrific, man. Hey, did you see your 6:14 exact that came through in the sixth race?
I was told thank you. I'm trying to stay focused as much as possible. They said that I didn't have to I could focus on the breeders, and it was more important for me to be here with you guys. I truly cherish these opportunities, but if you're asking me if that is going to feel good, you're damn right it feels good. God damn, it feels good.
winning bets on horse races, there's really nothing like it, and this is a hell of a weekend. You got Breeders' Cup tomorrow. There's LSU Bama is going to be a great game.
Ooh,
Notre
yeah.
Dame should have a good test in college football tomorrow, and then Sunday we get a preview potentially of the NFC title game between the Rams and the Saints. You get Aaron Rodgers versus Tom Brady. I mean, I don't know what else you could ask for. This is going to be a hell of a weekend. There's UFC fighting on Saturday. This is maybe one of the better sports weekends that we get all fall. So I'm fired up.
Yeah, I'm fired up too. Just quickly, I know we've got to move on quickly, but I'm enamored, especially with the breakdowns that Donnie's been giving on this Buccaneers Panthers over. Are you seeing what we're seeing?
I am. I definitely had that lined up. Did you guys? We've had 4 NFC South tilts so far in 2018. You know what the average points scored in those 4 tilts are? It's roughly 70.5 points per game. Like, this is crazy. Yep. And, we talked about this, I'm sure, on past audibles. Like, for whatever reason, like, the NFC South, like, certain divisions, they know each other well. They know how to stop each other. In the NFC South, it's the opposite. They know how to attack each other, and they can score points on each other. I agree with where you were going a little bit with the Bucs being somewhat of a live dog in this situation, too. Potential for a backdoor is real. Potential for the Panthers to be a little high on themselves after that really impressive win over Baltimore last weekend. Panthers also looking ahead as 6-point dogs to the Pittsburgh Steelers on Thursday Night Football this week. So chances you could get a little bit of an underwhelming performance out of the Carolina unit. So I think grabbing the points with the Bucs or looking for an over in this one are both totally decent looks.
Sweet. That makes me feel good. Let's move on to the Jets at Dolphins. This opened at Dolphins -3. We now have 2.5s across the board. The total has gone down. After breaking this game down with Donnie, I like the total. It was opened at 45.5. Then we had 45s. Maybe I missed the boat a little bit. Now we have 43.5s. Jets were in a very tough spot last week. And with the breakdowns, again, that you guys have been delivering, I doubled up. I had the Bears. I had the Jets team total under. It was stuff we talked about on the show. It felt really, really good. Darnold was in a very bad spot. I think this is an easier situation for him. The Dolphins looked awful against the Texans passing game last week. The Dolphins have a ton of injuries. Theodore McIntosh says Dolphins or nothing. Jaden TV says Dolphins huge money, but Ish Kurt is on the Jets. Why don't we start with you, Whale Capper? Jets at Dolphins.
So this one's one of what it feels like every game this week. There is a ton of injury question marks that are probably going to be important. I feel like this is a very evenly matched game, even in Miami with potential home field advantage for the Dolphins. I still feel like this is more of a coin flip game than the bookmakers lined it. So I grabbed the money line with the Jets. I think they're going to be live dogs in this one. I think we saw the Miami defense telegraphed a little too much we quit in that Thursday Night Football game against the Texans. They didn't pursue very well, and you can tell me, okay, well, this is a division matchup, a division rivalry. The defense is going to get up for this. They're going to play better. Maybe. Or maybe they quit. And on the other side of the ball, you have pieces coming back potentially in the passing game for Darnold, which might make a huge difference. The Dolphins defense thin at cornerback as it is, lose another guy to an ACL in practice this week. This is setting up for me as a nice little upset special for the Jets. And, the Jets to me feel like an 8-8 team, and this is probably the game that makes them either, 500 on the season or just under. So I'm okay taking a nice little plus money on the money line on the Jets here and looking for Darnold to get another win on his belt on the way to potentially his Offensive Rookie of the Year award. Holding a 10-1 ticket on that. And so I kind of need him to get a win here to get that one a little closer to home. But should be a fun game. I don't know.
Yeah, I like that breakdown. I agree. The Jets seem more and more appealing as the Dolphins keep getting hurt. And I was so heavy down, just not believing in this Dolphins team whatsoever in the beginning of the season. What are you thinking here, Donnie? Jets at Dolphins?
I'm still dead set. I mean, we talked earlier. We like the under at 45. It's 44 still at Intertops, 43.5 at BetOnline, 44 at Sportsbook.ag. I'm still looking at the under because when you look at these football games, let's just say, Quincy Enunwa stays out for the Jets and Robbie Anderson stays out for the Jets. There's not a lot of big play ability on either side and not a lot of quarterback play that's going to excel in the big play. You got Brock Osweiler. He's down a couple wins. Maybe Kenny Stills comes back and opens it up. But the Jets getting a little bit more healthy on the defensive side of the football. But I just see this being one of those AFC old school knockdown dragouts, not the Kenny O'Brien, Dan Marino games that we're used to way back in the day. Quarterback play is going to be at a premium in this one. First downs are going to be at a premium in this one. So, sort of picking a side and saying the rookie quarterback can go on the road with no weapons and get it done is hard to do. But then again, you're looking at Brock Osweiler with limited weapons on the other side. They're going to want to control the game with Frank Gore and a lot of Kenyon Drake out of the backfield. I just don't see a lot of points here. I can see this game maybe a 21-17 type final, which I don't even know who's actually going to win the football game because I don't think either team at this point is very good offensively. So I'll lean on the under in this situation.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I think both your plays make sense. Do you feel like this total will keep dropping, Donnie? You think if we want this under, like Paco Healy is on, do you think we should grab it as soon as possible?
I don't know. I mean, it's the weather's probably not going to be that bad down there. Maybe a quick passing shower, but you're looking in the 80s, and it's really all intents and purposes a dome in Miami, so you're not going to get much wind to kick for field goals. 45 was really nice early in the week, but now you're looking at the 43.5 starting to slip away because, 24-21, you get the over, and we've seen how many times, Jimmy, 13-3 at the half. Woo, this under looks really good, and a pick six and a fumble later, you're ripping up your betting ticket.
I hear that. Let's keep rolling. An interesting battle here. Falcons at Redskins, or Falcons, goddamn. We had a really great time. Breaking this game down on Tuesday. It opened with the Skins minus 2.5. Money started coming in on the Falcons. Then now, at least, because it was all over the board on Tuesday, now it seems like 1.5s have been across the board, settled across the board. The total has pretty much stayed the same. We're at 48s across the board. The Redskins didn't look great, but they got the job done against New York last week. And Adrian Peterson turned back the hands of time and took care of business, 26 for 149 yards. We talked, and I'm looking forward to hear what both you guys have to say about maybe Alex Smith being one of the few quarterbacks that just won't be able to take advantage of all the holes in the Falcons secondary. Not sure exactly what's going on with Matt Bryant. I'll hear from you guys. Falcons are coming off a bye week. I still find them appealing. And if Alex Smith can't take advantage of the secondary, then why wouldn't the Falcons be the play? Why don't we start with you, Donnie?
Yeah, it's an interesting one because I'm just sitting here waiting for the Redskins for their lack of offensive game planning or abilities, so to speak, to actually catch up to them. And it might be this week here. I just wish if it was like Atlanta was playing in a dome or on turf, I think they'd have a better shot here. Trent Williams is going to miss the football game, the all-pro left tackle, one of the better tackles in football when healthy for the Redskins. Thompson's going to miss this football game again. Now, all of a sudden, a guy that's played this season, now banged up, Jordan Reed, he usually misses 4 to 5 games. He's questionable to play in this game. The one thing we do know is Atlanta's going to be able to score. Atlanta scores on everybody. And I think that's going to be able to keep pace with the Washington Redskins. They're going to want to slow it down. They're going to want to hand the ball off to Adrian Peterson, who I still have no idea, banged up every single week, continues to get the job done. But you're asking the past couple weeks against offenses that were struggling where Washington can play down to their level and say, you know what? This team can't pull away from us. Let's just see if they make the mistake. And yes, Eli Manning makes the mistake. And the Dallas Cowboys can't get over the top. And Cam Newton has a horrible 3.5 quarters before finally discovering some touch in the weeks before. I think finally, if you're going to get some good weather in Washington, Atlanta's going to be able to push the issue and say, look, Washington, you're going to have to score into the high 20s here to beat this football team. And it's a matter of fact if you buy into that or not. I think coming off the bye, maybe Washington's a little bit banged up. I think Atlanta can score here. You know what? I'm going to roll the dice, and I'm going to take Atlanta here. Something a dome team going outdoors, which I usually stay away from. But sooner or later, Washington has to get bit either A, by the injuries, or saying, well, we'll score 21 and win this football game. That's not going to happen this weekend versus Atlanta.
I agree. A lot of people, though, not trusting Atlanta on the road, believing in these Redskins. Muhammad Joma saying the Redskins defense is for real. Redskins should win. Troy V saying Falcons on grass. Give me the Skins. Jim Bean, though, says good pick, Donnie. Atlanta is the play. And the more and more we talk about it, I agree. What are you thinking here, Whale Capper?
Well, the Redskins at 5-2, one of the more fraudulent 5-2 teams we've seen in recent years. They have cobbled together some wins against some teams that were underperforming. Just like Donnie laid out there, got gift wrapped a win by Eli Manning last week. And this is setting up. There's two angles really that set up in this game for me. One is the Falcons, and the other is the under. I think if you look at how the Redskins are getting it done, leaning so heavily on Adrian Peterson, that house of cards will crumble. His usage has ticked up in terms of rush attempts from 17 to 24 to 26 last week. We saw last year when you gave Adrian Peterson a heavy complement of carries, it cost him big time the following week. I think the Cardinals twice gave him 30 carries middle of the season or so, and then the following week, both times he was like under 2 yards per carry. Like his legs just weren't there. And I think what we've seen, with his usage ticking up and Thompson being out and Trent Williams, potentially being out with the broken thumb, all this signifies to me that the Redskins are going to be stuck in mud. On top of that, you have an Atlanta defense that the public thinks is trash. They have looked absolutely horrendous in games, absolutely, no doubt about that. But you have Dan Quinn, who's a defensive-minded coach, who finally got the bye opportunity to kind of go and assess what he had in terms of strengths and weaknesses on his team. He gets Grady Jarrett back healthy. I think you're going to see a more solid performance out of the Atlanta defense in this game than what we have been seeing over the first half of this season. They're going to really make it a tough day for the Redskins to score points. I do worry a bit about Matt Ryan outside, and I do worry a bit about this offense that is tailored to perform on a fast surface, playing on the sloppy field up in D.C. And so if I had to play only one, I'm looking for an under in this one. I think I got under 48.5 a couple of days ago. I would expect that to come down before we get to the close here. I would take anything under 47 in this game. I think this is going to be a pretty tight game, and I think the Falcons come away with the win.
Interesting. I agree with both of you guys here. I think I do find the Falcons a little more appealing than the under, but the more we break it down, the more I like it. I've always been a big Dan Quinn fan. Always loved Dan Quinn. Coming over from Seattle, I always loved him. And I think that is a very sharp point that, of course, this bye is that he will spend the whole time focusing on this defense. When the injuries happened, I just thought, man, this is Dan Quinn's worst nightmare coming true. He's going to have to handle these backups and use these backups for a full season. I agree. Eddie Sanchez, Atlanta, and the points. Jim Bean, Skins are fraudulent. Jake Bell also liking the Falcons. Okay. All right, let's keep rolling. This is a total that I absolutely love. I absolutely love the way Donnie talks about Fitzpatrick. I feel like Peterman is just a bad Fitzpatrick. And I think being able to watch for 2 weeks a hobo take his job will help Peterman moving forward. Bears at Bills, open at Bills minus 8.5. Now 10's on the board. That I feel like, God, I hate to say it, but the Bills are becoming appealing at home in this situation. The total opened at 37.5. I got 37 on Loshak in the bag. I got the over 37, but mostly 37.5's around right now. The Bills defense looked strong and stood strong against the Pats. I'm excited to see Peterman. I really am. I'm excited to see Peterman get another chance at this. This is one of the things I love about sports is that you can look terrible, look awful, be benched, and then be forced to come back in and make a man of yourself. And I think he can. There's a reason why he won the job in the beginning with the expectations at a rock bottom. I think that Peterman can Show us something here. How about that? Show us something. And I love the over so much. As Donnie pointed out, Peterman has just as much of a chance giving up pick sixes as he does getting scores. Trubisky, though, he's not looked great on the road until his last opportunity. It was the first time he started showing some potential on the road. We thought he was going to take advantage of a beaten-up Jets secondary. He did not do that. Why don't we start with you, Whale Capper? I'm already on the over 37 on the show. I still haven't bet it. I still need to bet it. Bears at Bills. What are you thinking here?
I would look for an over if the prop is total interceptions in the game. I think you have two pretty sloppy quarterbacks here. I think you have two defenses that are capable of putting those quarterbacks in tough situations. I agree wholeheartedly that the Bills defense is a solid unit. They're probably top 10, clearly top 10, maybe even top 5 overall in the league. What they did, limiting the Patriots last week was damn impressive, I thought. And I would say, Mitch Trubisky, a little bit of fool's gold. You dig through some of his box scores, and there's obviously good games in there, but you watch, some of his tape. He's making a lot of decisions that he hasn't really been made to pay for yet. Bills could do that. The Bills probably are the right play here in terms of grabbing the points. The problem is Nathan Peterman under center. He will, if you're saying he's like Fitzmagic, I mean, Fitzmagic can snatch victory against the spread out of the jaws of defeat. Nathan Peterman can snatch loss out of the jaws of victory in terms of covering spreads. We saw it with the pick six. They were cruising against the Texans. Peterman throws that pick six at the end of the game to get the loss. This game sets up a little similarly in my mind as terms of the Bills Bears versus the comparing to the Bills Texans. If I had to play a play, I think I'm probably taking the points in the Bills. But this was the easiest game of the week to stay completely away from for me.
I find the more we talk about it, I know. I find the Bills at double digits very appealing, and I'm going to wait to hear what Donnie has to say. But just like Jim Beam saying Peterman will have a good game, here's my first big balls play that I predict we come back next week, and Peterman has had a good game. Hey, if Nick Mullins can do it.
If Nick Mullins, you said it. If Nick Mullins can do it, why not Peterman?
What do you have to say about this, Donnie? I think the Bills at double digits is something I'm going to take. And I think the over 37, I've already made it an official pick, I'm going to bet.
Yeah, no, I mean, let's take a look at road Chicago, right? Some teams play a little bit better at home. Younger quarterbacks maybe struggle a little bit. Opening game versus Green Bay had a nice lead. They end up taking the loss there. They go to Arizona, one of the more horrific teams out there. And let's not forget, I believe they were down maybe 14-3 or at least a double digit where they had to come back and win that game 16-14. That's where Josh Rosen actually had a chance as a rookie to come back in the last drive, but wasn't able to get it done. And then you take a look at the collapse in Miami as well. Now, you're saying this is the Buffalo Bills, and what you saw from the past 2 weeks with the Derek Anderson at quarterback, which we can't say it enough, who no doubt was promised, you're never going to take a snap in the NFL, so don't worry about it. Just teach these guys some film room action and pick up some, extra scratch, because at the end of the year, you're going to go back to being a golfer again. He was thrust in, and he was terrible, which is great for the over-under, because that's going to skew statistics over the past few games and say, what, the Bills can't score any points. Now you're going to put Peterman back in there, but Peterman has a live arm. He's younger. He can move around. He can manipulate the pocket. Is he bad on interception throws? Yes, he is, but that is a very good thing, typically, when you're looking for a low over-under. If you can get some points out of the Chicago Bears, and why not? When you're looking at their schedule, the only game they scored in the teens was Arizona, 23, 24, 48, 28, 31, 24. They're going to be in the 20s in this football game, and I think the Buffalo Bills can get into double-digit territory. If you get one special team touchdown or defensive touchdown, this game's going over the total. It's only 37. This is Buffalo in November. It's going to be 50 degrees, 8, 9, 10-mile-an-hour winds. That's not going to be the case. You might even get some fake punts out there. Terrell Pryor was brought in for the Buffalo Bills. Not to say he's the end-all, be-all wide receiver, but at least another big guy. Maybe can run deep and throw it up. You get a pass interference, a touchdown, or an interception going back the other way. And I do like the Bills getting plus 10 at home. I think Peterman is a bad quarterback, but I think he plays well enough to move the football and get that total this weekend.
I am going to double up on this game. That's how much I really am. I really am. I really believe it. The more I look at it, the more I think the Bears are fraudulent on the road. The Bills' defense is impressive. Peterman knows this playbook. Peterman can improve. He won the job in the spring or in preseason. Great breakdown, guys. Let's keep rolling right along. Donnie, this was very interesting for me this week. I loved our breakdown of the Texans Broncos. I loved it on Tuesday. I came so close to betting the Texans team total over 22.5. I came so close, and I was just hesitating. And I was like, you know what? Why don't you just sit on it for a few days and talk to Donnie about it some more on Friday. Let's talk Texans at Broncos. Open Broncos -1. It did go to -1.5 and -2. It's back to -1. The total has come down. There's some 45.5s now on the board. Texans look good against that terrible Dolphins D. They lost Will Fuller for the season. They brought Demaryius Thomas in. I've been saying all year how bad Thomas is. Not bad, but he's just not looking anything like his former self. Maybe this will give him a spark. I'm telling you what, he's no Will Fuller. Lamar Miller is playing very well. Alfred Blue is playing well. They're getting a lot out of their running game. Broncos are coming off an impressive showing at Arrowhead. Keenum did his job, I guess. I've been disappointed in Keenum this year. Lindsey looked great. Booker looked great. Sutton looks great. That's why they made Thomas expendable. Let's start with you, Donnie. Do you still like this Texas team total over?
Yeah, I like the over in this game more than the side itself. We're taking a look at 45.5, which is showing up at Chris right now. Again, you're taking a look at a Denver team that's playing at home, and Cam Sutton's going to now take over wide receiver, obviously, for what Demaryius Thomas was doing. But more than anything is I like the weather conditions. 2-3 miles an hour wind, mid-50s in November in Denver. That should be enough to play to an over. You get some extra rest if you're Houston from playing on the Thursday night game. I think Deshaun Watson's going to be a little bit better, a little bit more healed up, and be able to run away from that pass rush that's going to be coming back to him here. But looking at a side, I mean, look at what we're setting up again here, similar to like the Steelers outcome. 70% or more of the public backing the Houston Texans in this spot. Chris opens a line at 1. The line is still sitting at 1 at this point. So what are we missing here when you're saying, hey, raise the red flag for the Denver Broncos? We're going to trade away a wide receiver who I didn't think was all that good over the past couple years as is. A little bit more slower of a wide out, lost a step. Now he's going to go over to Houston's side. I like the total because I think there's going to be some points scored through the air, banged up on the back end as the Texans. And I think Case Keenum will take some shots, but more than likely, I just like the weather conditions here. If you're going to hang a 45 in an NFL football game with some really good weather and the ability to kick long field goals in Denver in nice weather, I think it lends it to believe 45 seems like a decent price for that.
It does. Do you want to have both teams working towards that rather than just the Texans?
No, I think there is going to be some points out there because Case Keenum, he can make some good throws, but he also makes some bad ones. But I think more than likely helping out Denver is that secondary is a little bit banged up for the Houston Texans, which may lead to a little bit more points. Losing Demaryius Thomas isn't going to hurt that offense all that much. Emmanuel Sanders, the better wideout. Courtland Sutton is playing very well on the opposite end, and that's the reason why they were able to get rid of a veteran wide receiver because they have the next guy coming through the line. It's a tough game to pick out. Do I think Houston's the better team here, and I think Houston needs to win? Yes, I do. But, boy, if that line's not moving with over 70% of the public on one side, it's going to be an issue for me to take.
Very interesting. Great breakdown. What are you thinking about this spot, Whale Capper?
I like that look at the over a lot. I played the Broncos -2.5 in this one. Sold it out to -2.5 to get my price up to +110 or +111. I think the Broncos are the right side here. I think the Broncos get the win. I can see the over, though. And what you're laying out as far as an angle on the over makes a ton of sense to me. Houston Texans defense is not particularly good. They have a couple of stars, but they are very thin overall as a defense, and they're dealing with a ton of injuries. I think you add a little bit of extra difficulty to them by putting them in altitude and making this defense that's already thin, try to go and rush the passer. Early in the game, I think they're going to get gassed in the second half. I think there's going to be plenty of opportunity for second half points in this one. So even if it's looking a little slow scoring in the first half of this game, I'm probably going to look for a second half play on the over in this one, or a second half play on the Broncos. And I think there's not necessarily a ton being made of how incredible Deshaun Watson has performed over the last couple of weeks with this collapsed lung he's got, and it's it's going to be interesting to see how he does flying to Denver and then dealing with the effects of altitude up there. I wouldn't be surprised to see him have an off day, at least as far as what we've seen from him the last couple of weeks. And the Demaryius Thomas thing, it doesn't make any sense to me why the line moved on that information at all. He was not necessarily helping the offense, and you could even argue that moving him and giving some of these other guys more targets could help him, improve things with the way that the Denver's moving the ball. Love the way that Lindsey looks in the rushing attack, and there's the only thing that scared me away from backing the full game over a little bit, and instead playing Denver was the idea if Denver can get a lead in the first half, they have the horses to really put the hurt on Denver in the second half, shorten the game a little bit, and then just kind of play keep away from them in the second half of this football game. But I think we're on the right side, and we're looking at the right total here as far as I can tell you.
I like that. It's something I'm going to follow through with. I guess Texans. I just didn't want the bias from the Dolphins game. It is true that they're probably a dome team that was mentioned in the chat. I think I'd prefer having both teams going after this over. Donnie and I talked about whether the lung was still an issue, and we sort of came to the agreement that it wasn't anymore and that he was good to go. I forget exactly why we felt that way, Donnie. Do you remember why we believed that he was pretty much rolling right now?
Who are we talking about? It cut out there for a second, Jimmy.
Sorry, we're talking about Deshaun Watson's lung. I remember we broke this down on Tuesday because I had some fears about it, and you calmed all the fears.
Yeah, no, it was right, because with the angle that we're taking, that is if you have one of those games that typically would be in Denver, maybe in November, where you're getting 35 degrees or something in that range, where maybe it's a little bit tougher to take that deep breath with a damaged lung. But if you're going to deal in the mid 50s out there with light wind, when you step out of like a store, a convenience store, and it's really cold, and you take that first deep breath, and it's like, man, I can't even catch my breath right now. That's not going to be the case in this game. So maybe a little bit warmer conditions, but not 80 degrees where that altitude will wear on you. I don't know if it's going to be that big of a deal here for him.
I tend to agree with that. I like the over here. I'm going to make that a play. It's our man Lucky Luciano's birthday today. Happy birthday, Lucky Luciano. He needs a birthday pick. I say that when we're all, when we finish breaking down this whole card, we each give him our best play, see if we can get our man Lucky Luciano a little bit of birthday cash. Let's go to this game. Now, we're coming close to a couple games that have had very interesting market moves. Here is one, Chargers at Seahawks. Opened up Seahawks -2.5. When we did our show, Donnie, it was -2s, -1.5s. Now, all of a sudden, the Chargers are the favorite at some books. -1s have popped up for the Chargers. There's pick'ems. There's still a couple -1s for the Seahawks, but they look like they are part of the past. The total opened up at 48. Now you can get anywhere between 47 and 48. Chargers are coming off their bye week. Melvin Gordon has been announced that he is ready to go. Doesn't look like Bosa, as people were hoping, would make an appearance. Seahawks looked great at Ford Field, and now they're back at CenturyLink, where they're a dangerous team to play. This was a tricky game when we broke it down on Tuesday, Donnie. Why don't we start with the whale cap route in the West Coast, Chargers at Seahawks?
Yeah, great game. Very, very, very much looking forward to this one. And you nailed it with the market moves. Boy, it's tough to say exactly what happened, if that was truly a head fake by some of the sharp people trying to bet up the number on Seattle so that they could come back even greater on the Chargers once the limits were a little higher. It looks that way because there certainly wasn't any news or information that influenced this. It's setting up as a pretty competitive game the way that I look at certain matchups in this one. If you look at what Seattle has done particularly well over the last couple weeks, it has been utilizing Russell Wilson's strength in play action. And he is maybe no better quarterback at faking out everyone on the defense and when he's going into his play action mode. And he's been finding guys just wide open down the field. It was that they've been getting yards in chunks against defenses that can't cover well by executing that. And I think you're looking at cover cornerbacks in with the Chargers that are good enough to keep those windows small, even in play action situations. And so I think that the Chargers defense here is going to look a little better than the Chargers defense we've seen at times during this season, where the Chargers are suffering on defense. It's mostly in their tackling, and the Seahawks aren't, a huge yard after catch team. They're not an offense that's, completing passes in the short, medium range and then taking them for, 10, 15 yards. So I think that this plays into this, the Seahawks are going to find a pretty tough time really moving the ball effectively. And then you flip the script. The Seahawks defense is playing really, really solid football. We've seen now, year in, year out, Pete Carroll and his crew knows how to coach up the defensive backfield. My goodness, they get these guys in and they coach them up to all-pro level. It feels like that. And now you got capable secondary covering a really, really, really legit passing attack for the LA Chargers. And that makes then you okay, well, KJ Wright, is he healthy? He's back. He's playing close to a full complement of snaps. Bobby Wagner's playing close to a full complement of snaps. You got Frank Clark emerging on the D line as a nice threat in the pass rush. So all told, I think we're going to see two really, really impressive performances from these defenses in this game, and this is going to be a chess match in terms of who can execute in the special teams and the punting and the field goal kicking. I would lean slightly towards Seattle if that's how it actually breaks down, just because I think they have the better punter and the better kicker. But it's not a huge lean, and I can see why this game is about a pick 'em. My solid look on this one, and it was solid from the moment they opened these, was the under. I'm on under 48 or 47.5. I can't remember exactly the number I got, but I sold points down to I think 47.5. I think this is a field goal game. I don't think you're going to see these teams score into the mid to the high 20s. I think under is the look here, and then you can just kind of enjoy the chess match and see who comes out on top.
Interesting, the under. This is a game that really put fear in me when I started breaking this game down. Thomas Lathan talking about that Seahawks run game. Carson went for 25 carries for 105 yards. Theodore McIntosh, Seahawks, a much better coach team. I hate when people say good things about Pete Carroll. Troy V saying, when did the Seahawks find an O-line? And he deserves it this year. He's done a great job. Jaden TV saying Russell Wilson at home is very good. Chargers at Seahawks, Donnie. What do you think about this big market move? And Whale Capper's right. It's not because of any injury news or any information that came up. What do you think about the move, Donnie? Very interesting.
Yeah, no, I mean, I would eventually seem to think the market move would have went the opposite way with the news that you get on Melvin Gordon. Is he going to play? Is he not going to play in that type of situation? But I'm looking at this more of a Seattle victory for me because this is one of the teams I wrote off. I said, as soon as Earl Thomas went down, this team's dead, buried. They're not going to be able to do much right after they played horrifically and ended up getting lucky beating Arizona on the road due to some missed field goals and some late game chicanery there, so to speak, by the Arizona Cardinals. Then they come back and play a competent game against the Rams, completely and thoroughly embarrassed both Oakland and Detroit in the past 2 weeks. I don't know what's gotten into it. Russell Wilson was sensational last week. They're running more RPO type stuff, which it looks like Carson has been phenomenal. He's banged up a little bit, but should be able to go. I just have this as one of those games where I don't know if the pass rush from the Chargers can really get after Russell Wilson. I think he's going to have time to throw. I think the crowd's going to be involved in this football game. The Chargers have been off, and usually off a bye. You're usually a better team. You're better prepared to go in. But I think that the Seattle Seahawks are in charge right now. I think Russell Wilson's going to be good in this game. And again, that surprises me about the line movement going back to the Chargers as a favorite. This has screamed Seattle to me. They're playing really good football, and this is one of those games I've seen year after year after year where you say, my God, Russell Wilson, what a play you just made. I think he's going to do it again this weekend.
I think so, too. I guess these market moves just scare the shit out of me. But I agree. The line when it came out at -2.5, that made sense to me. Watching all this money come in on the Chargers is dangerous. Thomas Lathan asking about sure.
I was just going to ask Donnie an opinion question. So I have an underplay on this. And
yes.
I'm looking at, do I want to add something in the Seattle? Because I do. I agree with you. I think that it does tip their direction and there is value on them. And if they win this game, they are very, very, very much in control of their own destiny to get a wild card spot. And you look down their schedule, they have 6 more games. This game and 5 more at home for the rest of the way in the season. They have games against the Niners and the Cardinals multiple times. There are a lot of wins on this schedule as you look down through the months of November and December. Good idea to take a little bit of a look at Seattle to win the NFC. just out of because if they win this game, they are going to the playoffs, and their number's big.
No, you're right. And all it takes is some injuries down the stretch. Because, look, we're not saying that they're the shoe-in favorite and they're going to definitely win, but value is going to be value. If you see an injury on the horizon, maybe a Jared Goff goes down, a Todd Gurley goes down, those are always viable stretches. And you're right. And this is a team that's coming from where I thought they were dead in the water, and I bet the Rams because I thought the Rams were going to eviscerate them in Seattle. Now, they did whatever they wanted on offense, but it showed me something that Pete Carroll can completely flip the script and come up with game plans that make sense versus other teams. I think he's going to do it again here. I think they win this game. And who's going to stop them? I mean, 4 out of 5 wins. Now you flip it over and win another one, 5 out of 6. And here we go, Seattle making another run because they're only getting healthier in their front seven. Another week or two, they're going to get Michael Kendricks back. So now you have KJ Wright, Bobby Wagner, and Michael Kendricks as your linebackers with a pretty good front four. That's a great way to make up for a secondary lacking in some talent.
Ooh, I find that extremely exciting, Whale Capper, and a great answer to that question, Donnie. What an extremely exciting bet. Has me thinking, too. Wow, I like it. Absolutely like it. Let's keep rolling right along here, but the Seahawks are being back. Farshad Hassami says, I like the Seahawks, too. A lot of people liking the Seahawks. And then Paco Healy out of San Diego says, I just think this is a spot where the Chargers blow it. And Ray Williams, I agree, Seahawks and Panthers are sneaky ex-Super Bowl teams that can win it, but not Anthony L., who likes the Chargers money line. Wow. And Whale Capper, would you be making that bet before this game against the Chargers, or would you want to wait and see what happens here?
Now there'd be more value. There's more value if you take it before the game, right?
Yeah. Right. I think this is a huge leverage in terms of their playoff likelihood. They win this game, they're going to the playoffs. And so maybe if you want a future and if you play that game and you like to accumulate futures over the course of the season, I think this is the time you scoop Seattle because they're going to be one of the 6 teams in the NFC. If you bet at a book that offers to make the playoffs yes or no odds, I think you play yes now with Seattle, and even if they lose this game, they have enough winnable games down the stretch that they're going to be in the conversation. You're going to have opportunities in the coming weeks to make some noise. They play the Rams next week, and the Rams are 8-point favorite. Look ahead in LA. Rams are going to be coming off a really tough game against the Saints. So I don't know that I love Seattle's. Yeah, I don't know that I love the idea of Seahawks getting an upset win in that spot. I'll probably be on them with the points, though. 8 seems like crazy, way too much. And if the Rams win, which I think they will, then you may even see a more favorable number. So you can probably wait a couple more weeks to get a future here. Price isn't going to move a ton. It's just something I had kind of in the back of my head because they've played. They've played 7 games so far, and 5 of them have been on the road. They only have 3 more road games. One of them, as we mentioned, was that LA game. The other 2 are winnable games against teams that they should be able to put away. So they could have a real nice stretch down the home stretch here. I would look for playoffs yes type of props, see if you can get a plus money in that. And if those props aren't plus money yet, maybe if they lose this game and they lose to the Rams, then I would say maybe play a Seattle playoffs to make the playoffs. Yes, prop would be a nice look. So
I love great breakdown, great idea, great look ahead spot. Whale Capper, respect. Let's move on to another giant market move that Whale Capper has led us into. Rams at Saints, 8-0 Rams at 6-1 Saints. Very exciting. Opened at a pick'em. When we were here on Tuesday, it was Saints -1.5 and -2. And then flip the switch. The Rams are now the favorite. There's even -2.5s on the board. It's between -1 and -2.5. Not only that, but the total that opened up at 60 and was stuck there on Tuesday has now fallen to 58.5 and 58. The battle of the best teams in the NFC. The Rams barely got past the Packers. They barely got past the Seahawks. People are starting to question exactly how good this 8-0 team is. When this came out, this line, it made sense to me. Just like that Seahawks spot. I thought, yes, the Saints should be favored. And even at -1.5, -2, I see value with the Saints. Now the switch has flipped, and the Rams are the favorite. I can't wait to hear you guys break down this game. Why don't we start with you, Whale Capper? Rams at Saints.
Okay, so I played the Rams money line when the Saints were favored. I think I got plus 111-ish, and it was a moderate. I was moderately confident that the Rams were going to win this game when I played that, and seeing the market move in this favor, in my favor now has me pretty. I'm feeling pretty good about this. Granted, there is some information moving that Cooper Kupp looks like he's probably going to play. They make the move to bring in another pass rusher. Although God knows if he's any good. I don't know if Fowler is any good, but it's news, and it moves the market, I guess. My angle on this game really though boils down to the way that the Rams offense matches up against the Saints defense. To me, is absolutely a perfect matchup spot. I know that we've seen the Saints get up 2 weeks in a row to beat the Ravens and beat the Vikings, and I know we've seen amazing game scripts from Sean Payton this year. He has absolutely attacked the teams exactly the way to attack them. Going on like 4 or 5 weeks now, he's done an incredible job of that. I question his defense. I think that the Saints defense has enormous holes, and where they have holes, the Rams match up extremely well against them. You get a 7-point lead in this game if you're LA, and you can put this thing away. I think you're going to be able to keep away from Drew Brees with the likes of Gurley, running the ball out of the backfield, and the push they're getting on this offensive line is just awesome. I know that the Saints' run defensive metrics are fine. They're good even, but they haven't really faced anyone that I would say runs anywhere near a dynamic attack that Sean McVay is using right now with Goff and Gurley and some of the pieces that they have in the offensive weapons for the Rams. This is the kind of game where the Rams absolutely get up and bring their best, and put an exclamation point on them being the favorites to win the NFC this year.
Interesting breakdown. Whale Capper enjoying seeing great call, grabbing it at plus 111, but I'm still nervous. I still think the Saints can do damage at home. I'm very curious to see how the Rams handle this extremely loud dome. Donnie, can't wait to hear your breakdown on this game.
Yeah, I mean, look, these 3 straight games that we're going to go over the Chargers, Seattle, Rams, New Orleans, Green Bay, and the New England Patriots. 3 of the harder games that as a capper, you're trying to break down and find that slightest edge, because you can make a case for every single angle in these overs, unders, which team's going to come to play and perform. In the NFL, and look, it's a lot of spots here. And yes, the New Orleans Saints were on the road last week. Did they get a little bit lucky getting some fortuitous bounces versus the Minnesota Vikings? Yes, they did. The week before, they're on the verge of collapsing, an extra point. Now you go to overtime, and we'll see where the momentum goes. But they did win those football games, and Whale Capper brings up a great point. Sean Payton has just been scheming an offense that has been just outrageous, and a lot of selflessness, where Alvin Kamara is the lead dog, then Ingram comes back, and they're happy to share the load, and Drew Brees actually coming off the field inside the 5-yard line, giving up touchdowns to Taysom Hill. The guy who cares about more stats than anybody in the universe is now willing to play ball and say, you know what? If it helps the team, I'll come off the field and give up touchdowns to a backup third-string quarterback that's going to run some read option stuff. It's been amazing to watch. If this is a spot that the Rams go in and can beat New Orleans in the Dome, I think there's a really good shot that the Rams run the table and go 16-0 in the NFL, because if there's a spot to lose, it's going to be this one in the Dome with Drew Brees. So if they're going to win this football game, I'm just going to crown them NFC champs that says nobody's going to get in their way, because this environment that they're about to step into after coming off of a tough game at home versus the Green Bay Packers, now going on the road in one of the loudest environments where this team is going to get ready to play. If they pull this off, they're going to run the table. That's where I think it ends. I don't think they run the table, and I don't think they win this football game. I just think Drew Brees in the Dome with this noise factor is going to be a big spot for the Rams to overcome. Jared Goff's still a younger quarterback out there, and I talked about it earlier, snapping the ball against the Denver Broncos 12 times with 1 second or less on the play clock, resulted in only 1 first down, which was a 16-yard pass over the middle. No other one of those snaps came to a first down versus the Denver Broncos. So just something interesting in this environment that's going to be extremely loud. I think Sean Payton's going to be ready to go in this football game. The Saints get the victory.
Wow. And the market move not scaring Donnie right side.
Scaring me. It's not scaring me. It's not scaring me one bit.
I love it. So would you take the Saints on the money line and get a little extra, or would you want those couple points just in case?
Yeah, no, if it's one, yeah, you might as well just take it because I don't know if it's going to be a last-second field goal. It's going to be decided by one. I think if the Saints win the football game, it's going to be by 3 or more points. But I just think this is finally the environment that's going to be tough. I've seen time and time again teams get absolutely destroyed down there in these type of primetime games where it's the NFL game of the week. That place is going to be absolutely rowdy after not having a football game down there in about a month.
Yeah, no doubt. I have a friend going to that game, and he's just pumped beyond imagination. Any last points after hearing Whale-Cap, after hearing Donnie believing in those Saints?
Well, he's making me think if I should just take an arbitrage position on this and just take plus money on both sides and enjoy the game. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I'm hopeful that this is like okay. So we've had a couple of weeks in a row now where the Rams really have underperformed in big games, and we've had a couple of weeks in a row now where the Saints have overperformed in big games. This is like a telltale spot here where you flip the script and the Rams come out and it's 28-0, and instead of this loud raucous crowd that you were expecting in the dome, it's like crickets. And it's like, wait, I thought we were contenders. You can't keep up with these guys. Like, oh man, like Aaron Donald, how many more strip sacks is he gonna have? You know, like we got to get a guy on Cooper. Oh, we got to get a guy on Woods. We got to get a guy on. You know, there's so many dynamic parts in the Rams attack, and there are absolutely holes in the Saints defense. I know the Rams defense isn't like all world right home about how great they are. They have playmakers on the D line. You know, I'm disappointed in how Peters is playing this season. I hope he comes to play and really puts a nice coverage package together to take Thomas out of the game a little bit. But the Saints defense is the weak unit in this as I look across these 4 units, and I think the Rams offense is going to make them pay for it.
What a game. What a game. These are just such exciting games, and it rolls us into another very, very exciting game. Packers at Patriots. You know, when I look at these games back to back to back, Chargers, Seahawks, Rams, Saints, Packers, Patriots, does it get any more exciting? And it does. Nathan Peterman, baby. Open at Patriots -6 now. A couple of -6s, -5s, and it keeps going down. So it's, I guess, not that much. Maybe I'm making a bigger deal of that. So on Tuesday, there was 6s and -5.5s. Now there's -5.5s and -5s. Total opened at 57.5 when Donnie and I did our show. On Tuesday, there was 56.5s, 56. Now it's stuck at 56.5. This is as exciting as football gets. The Packers in a very difficult stretch of football games, but they are rising to oh God, I haven't slept in a few days, you guys. I'm falling apart. I was like, what? How do I keep this sentence going? The Packers.
Is the 7th race about to end? And Jimmy's like, what is going to happen?
Yeah, he's just trying to get his words out while he watches the TV.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. It's tough. Yeah, it's tough.
It's tough, but I absolutely love being here with you guys, and there's no way I would have missed it for anything. The Packers look great in LA against the Rams. Rodgers look good. Devontae Adams, it sort of feels like Cobb is doing nothing, and if you wanted to, you could just key solely on Devontae Adams. Jimmy Graham seems like he's just a red zone threat. If Devontae Adams is the only guy making big, big plays, the Packers, to me, shouldn't be that hard to stop. And it does put into question how strong the Rams defense is if they couldn't figure that out. Packers at Patriots. The Patriots at home just seem to be so dominant. Why don't we start with you, Whale Capper? Packers at Patriots, a line of -5.5 or 5 in a total of 56.5.
Okay. Well, as someone with a Green Bay +8.5 ticket last week, let me go ahead and wipe the sweat off my brow that I am still sweating because that came so close to going up in flames. And I think we were right when we broke down that game last week. Green Bay was the right side in that game. That defense, they played lights out. That was the most impressive performance we've seen from that Green Bay defense going back to when they shut out Josh Allen, which maybe that wasn't that impressive, but whatever. Giving Aaron Rodgers that many points was tough, and it was easy to pick that number off. And I am very, very surprised that the bookmakers have set themselves up to get cleaned out on the Patriots here because they hung a lower number than the look ahead. I don't know that I saw enough out of Green Bay to warrant you ought to adjust their power number by a couple of points. And you're still talking about now a very, very tough travel spot. Green Bay, go fly to LA, go play a tough game. You lose a heartbreaker, a game you think you absolutely had a shot to go and drive and get a field goal and win. Now you got to fly all the way back across the country, play in prime time against the Patriots in Foxborough, a place where they are absolutely lights out, dynamic. At home in this spot. I know that there are a lot of question marks about the Patriots over the course of the season. They have not looked as good as Patriots of old. We've talked about it on this show a bunch of times. This is probably the worst roster they've ever put around Tom Brady. But lo and behold, Julian Edelman is back in the fold. He looks like he's 100% now. Rob Gronkowski, he's probably 30% of the Rob Gronkowski that we've seen in years past. He's clearly dealing with a ton of serious injuries, and they keep him under wraps for the most part in these games unless they absolutely need points. But I think you're starting to see, a Patriots team that's coming together and getting a little momentum. And when they need to score points, it's not really ever in doubt. And I think that, having them as relatively short favorites by Patriots standards at -5 is a really, really decent look. And if it's a brutal day for the public on Sunday, there is going to be just a mad pileup of people grabbing Patriots tickets here. And the bookmakers, I guess, have confidence in Aaron Rodgers being competitive in this game because they're going to let it happen, I guess, if they're hanging 5. So it's interesting. I don't know. I guess I'm interested to hear what Donnie thinks the line's going to do, but I'm taking the Patriots and the points. I'm laying the points with the Patriots now, expecting them to get a pretty comfortable win here against the Packers.
You've had a great read on the Patriots ever since IFBC when we first met. You've had an excellent read on these Patriots. And Quinn Rivera backing your call on Gronk, saying Gronk looks slow or hurt out there, but Pat's still getting it done. White with yards after the catch all day. I also can't wait to hear what you have to say on this game, Donnie. Packers at Patriots.
Yeah, you know what? Looking at a side, it looks too easy, right? When it opened up, 6.5, 7. Oh, I just watched the same exact football game, and it was the Rams, and I was just going to take, the Packers and take the points. This is a tough spot because they should have won the football game last week, and they took the L. Now they're flying home. They need to win this game. But look, it's Belichick and it's Brady at home, one of the tougher environments to play in to actually beat this football team. If you're looking for a way to take the Green Bay Packers, I hear you because you're right. Seeing in the chat box, Gronkowski a little bit slowed up now. Edelman banged up with the ankle injury, but they did a pretty good thing last week if you're looking from the New England perspective. Held a lot of guys back. They figured this is the Buffalo Bills with Derek Anderson. We're not going to expend a lot of energy. We're going to throw 55 balls that are 3 yards or less in the flat and just walk the first downs, get out of here with a victory because we know we have that big game in that matchup next week, which looking at a side, I would lean towards New England because it's New England at home. If you're going to hang a 5, just like Will Capper's talking about there, you're not expecting Green Bay really to hang around. You're expecting Green Bay to be in this football game, in a tie game, and maybe get the outright victory in New England, which I don't think is going to happen. But I actually like the under a little bit better than I like the side, 56.5. What do you need when you're taking a look at the overs here? Do you think there's going to be good pass rushes on both sides? I don't think it's going to be that much domination. Are both defenses electric and lights out? No, I don't think so. But that plays right into my thoughts as an under because if you're going to get points in this football game, is it going to be 2 plays, 72 yards? No. It's going to be 5 yards, 6 yards, 3 yards, 5 yards, 6 yards, 11-play drive, 6.5 minutes off the clock, and all you need is a couple stands in the red zone where you get field goals instead of touchdowns to get this. In a college atmosphere that you're looking, you need those 3 plays, 68 yards and a touchdown. That's not happening in this football game. These guys are going to dink and dunk their way down the field and take what they're given on both sides of the football. This game's going to stay under the total. Could they both play in the high 20s and maybe into the low 30s on one side? Sure they can. These are the 2 greatest quarterbacks arguably of all time, but I don't see that quick strike ability on either side in this football game. And all you need is a couple red zone stops. You get that under. We're not talking about 45, 46 in this game. We're talking about close to 57. Give me the under here.
Interesting. I like that. What do you think
look.
about that call, Whale Capper?
That's a really nice look. I think that your path to victory there, the way you've laid that out, is exactly in the cards for this one. Where New England struggles, it's exactly in that short intermediate range. They can cover well down the field. They have the horses in their secondary to do pretty tight coverage, and Green Bay's offensive weapons aren't scary. They're not going to get behind this defense. No way, no how. You could see a lot of these drives, though, and you could see them, bend but don't break type of defenses on both sides of the ball. If all you need probably is 1 or 2 red zone stands where you stop a team kind of inside the 10 and make them settle for a field goal, and this thing stays under. So that's a pretty nice look. Last point I wanted to make about the Patriots and their ability to attack the Packers. I thought you saw some really nice adjustments from Sean McVay and the Rams last week at halftime. They were getting smothered by the Packers defense, and what they came out with as their plan A was not working. And they made the exact right adjustments on how to attack the Packers defense in terms of getting their running backs involved in the passing game and getting them in space and having them make plays when they needed it, and hitting guys on the edges out down the field. And I think that plays exactly into the way the Patriots want to attack anyway. And you're going to see the Patriots be able to move the ball more effectively in general in this game. And so I guess I think as terrible as it is to say, the Green Bay team total under might be worth a sniff in this one, even though the Patriots defense is, clearly has problems. I think that I think they're going to be able to play some keep away in this one.
Very interesting breakdown. My man Brant Hunt does not agree with us, says gonna be an easy over. I don't know. I think that this breakdown that Donnie put together is very sensible. Eddie Sanchez giving us a final score of 31-24. T-Lo joining us. It's not too late because we still have the Monday Nighter. Very interesting spot here. Hate seeing that the Cowboys are 3-0 at home. That means I've lost 3 times betting against them. But they are 0-4 on the road, which allows me to pump my fist. This is too big of a spread. I want to fade the Cowboys as I always do. I know the Titans aren't to be trusted, but when Donnie and I broke this game down on Tuesday, it really felt like they were just giving too many points. It opened Cowboys -4, then they were -6.5, which I should have hammered immediately. Now it's mostly 5.5 on the board. The total opened up at 42.5. It was all over the market was all over the place on Tuesday. Now it's 40.5 and 40s. The Cowboys tend, or at least lately, have been able to put points up on the board at home. That feels a little too low. It feels frighteningly low. One of those situations where you could be right all game and the game could still end up going over because of a late score. We have both these teams fresh, coming off of buys. Whale Capper, what are you thinking here on the big Monday Nighter, Titans at Cowboys?
Yeah, too many points for the Cowboys to be laying to any team. This is not a team that is going to, the one outlier game of their whole season was that weird one against the Jaguars, where they would have covered, whatever spread they would have opened. But I think you're going to see a much more competitive performance out of the Titans than we saw out of the Jaguars that day. Marcus Mariota he's got to be feeling some pressure. They have got to get him going. I feel like the way that the game played out against the Chargers, even though it was a loss, I feel like that was a confidence boosting moment for the Titans as a unit, and as for that offense especially. The fact that they were able to get sustain those drives late in the game and get that touchdown when they absolutely had to. Even though they didn't convert that 2-point conversion that would have won them the game, I think that was a nice confidence building moment for this offense, which has looked lost at times this season. And I think they're going to be able to get it done and probably compete for a win here. It's Dallas may win, but I don't see any world where they should have opened this one as high a favorite as they did. I took the Titans in the points, and I think this is at worst I think this is a Cowboys 3-point win, and so I'm happy being outside of a field goal in this one.
Yeah, I agree with that breakdown quite a bit. Do you feel like, Whale Capper, that this total, do you have any feelings on it? It's gone down 2.5 points at some book.
I think the over is probably in play at this point because it's moved a little too much. I kind of liked where they opened it. It agreed a little bit with where I think this is going to end up in the 23-20 kind of range. You could see 24-20. You could see 24-21. I mean, these are all scores that would take it over the current total, and I think there's a tendency to expect both offenses to look horrible in this one, but I think you have some nice matchups with the way each defense has particular holes that they're going to be able to find ways to get some scores. Even if they're just field goals, you're still going to be live in that total.
I agree. I think this is too low now. Jaden TV says, I'm betting Cowboys money line. Boys win 27-21. That would go way over. And then Jim Bean says Titans 17, boys 15. So the Titans backers would cash, but it would go way under. Donnie right side, the Monday nighter, two teams off buys. Titans at Cowboys.
Yeah, two teams rested here. I think each one of these teams had outlier games. The Jacksonville Jaguars game where Dallas completely put away at home, and then you had the 21-0 loss to the Baltimore Ravens. If you take out both of those games on each side, who's going to run away in this football game? I mean, is it going to be another one of those we're going to score 40 points for the Dallas Cowboys? You've seen enough Dallas Cowboys football. Yes, they added Amari Cooper, and they have time to get him in. But we're not talking about adding Randy Moss here and having Joe Montana throw him the football. This is still the Dallas Cowboys offense, which is pretty unimaginative, as you've seen with the press clipping saying, hey, Amari, you guys got any cool plays that we might be able to use on the Dallas side of the football? This isn't going to be a great football game from either side, but you do like and have a little bit more as well. Capper's right. You put the ball on the 1 yard line. If they would have handed the football off the Tennessee Titans, punched that football in, you might have a completely different perspective on this game if they knocked the Chargers off, had a couple weeks to get ready with a more healthy Marcus Mariota, where he now sheds the glove and looks like that whole issue with his throwing hand being a little bit numb is completely out the window. Neither one of these teams are going to run away in the football game. Why not just take the points here with the Titans?
I absolutely agree. The Titans are the play. If you want to add to that, please do.
Quick note for you. Donnie, before I'm going to set a little trap here, kind of. Did you think it was the right call to go for the 2-point conversion to try to get the win against the Chargers?
100%. They weren't winning that game in overtime, and especially they went for it, didn't get it, and then the ball's at the 1. If you have 1 yard to get with a quarterback that can run the read option and an enormous running back, and you're throwing the football, get the hell out of here, man. Somebody's coaches. Well, it was the right move. Yes.
So, Here's my next question for you. How do you know about what percent Marcus Mariota is converting 2-point conversions since he's been in the NFL?
I do not know. What is it?
He is 0 for 8. And that is not
he
even
should be the best at
what
it. He should be the best at it.
I know he should be so much better. What is going on? He cannot convert a 2-point conversion. It blew my mind. I looked it up because I was like, if you think you have a 50-50 chance, absolutely go for it. Sure, but do the Titans have a 50-50 chance?
Yes, on the 1 or 2 yard line, you want the guy that can absolutely run a read option or an RPO where you have to worry about the. It should be easy. It should be easy.
It should be. They have a guy too that you should just be able to just slam through there. And the fact that the play they called was just laughable. And even in that goal line situation, it took to 4th and 1 to even get the touchdown. The touchdown they got was a little sketchy. The guy was, bobbling it, even though nobody's touching him.
They should have an unbelievable red zone offense just with the way they can operate it, and they just defy odds.
Yeah, It's so bizarre. They have a weird mental thing about that. When they're at the goal line situation, the Titans have something bizarre going on up top. Hopefully, what's the most memorable play I can think of is against the Chiefs when they needed to score and Marcus Mariota threw the terrible pass, got batted up, he caught it himself and ran it in, and that was like the game decider against the Chiefs. They just have a bizarre approach when it comes to red zone offense, and hopefully they get it figured out. But I love the one other thing I wanted to bring up about this game that I was curious what your thoughts were. All is not well in Dallas. Something is going on under the surface there. We know that they don't have a very good owner. He's meddling in ways that is making the team worse. Trading away a 1st-round pick for Amari Cooper is maybe the most laughable personnel decision that I can think of in the last 3 years. But all that aside, they fired their offensive line coach after the bye is halfway over. That was a head scratcher. I haven't heard anyone talk about that. I've got no information as to why they made that move. Their offensive line has been pretty strong over the last couple of years, and to fire the guy that was responsible for coaching those guys up was weird. And then on top of that, you got a head coach who's not particularly strong. I just wonder, who out there is laying the points with Dallas this week? It seems like this seems like too obvious. The right side is Tennessee and the points and grabbing the points in this one. And to a degree, Dallas may also be looking ahead at Philly next week. They may think we got this one in the bag. We're 6-point favorites. We're going to win this game, and we got to get the Eagles next week. We're going to beat them. We're going to be in charge of the NFC East. No way. This Cowboys team is a sell right now to me, and I really don't know what's going on with them. And they need to kind of clean house and start over. But Jerry Jones, who the hell knows?
Yeah, I agree. Great breakdown, guys. Kobe Valentine saying one of my top plays will most likely be Tennessee +6. I agree. Jim Bean saying Dallas thinks Tennessee wins. I would say if I was giving out a birthday pick to Lucky Luciano, I would say it's the over in Tampa Bay at Carolina. Just love Donnie's breakdown of that game. I think that's the most appealing to me. But this card is opened up as it always does on this show. It is such a pleasure working with you guys. Before you guys say your goodbyes, I'd like to give a big shout out to the chat. This show is special because of you guys bringing in all your insights and just making it so much more fun than it would be if it was just the three of us talking. So a big thank you to everybody in the chat. Whale Capper, what a treat it is to have you on these Fridays. Would you say goodbye and a thank you to the chat, my friend?
All right. Thank you, guys. We really appreciate you hanging in there and being part of this awesome show. My birthday pick's going to be look for a prop on Sunday. Adrian Peterson rushing yards under. That thing is going to be so inflated. They're thinking they're going against this lousy defense in Atlanta. They're going to line that thing close to 100. He's going to be so gassed from his usage of the last 3 weeks. He's going to be grinding out 1.5 yards a carry. Maybe he gets to 30 or 40. They're going to put that prop somewhere around 80 to 100. So get an under prop on Adrian Peterson and enjoy that birthday cash. And Jimmy, Mackenzie. Is that the horse tomorrow in the Classic, Mackenzie?
Yes, it is.
That's our boy.
Mackenzie is our boy.
Huge. So glad someone else is an Abel Tasman fan out there. Abel Tasman cashed me a 9-1 in the Kentucky Oaks last year and came through with the last win in a pick 4 that I had that ended up paying +400. The largest odds bet I've ever won in my life. Thank you to Abel Tasman. I really hope she gets it done against Monomoy Girl, who I think is, like you mentioned in your breakdown. And if you haven't watched the breakdowns about the Breeders' Cup, Jimmy did a fantastic job. You should go track those down. You will learn about horse racing just watching Jimmy talk about it. So thank you for all of that information, and best luck this weekend in the Breeders' Cup, and best luck to you guys in the NFL Week 9.
Thank you so much. That means so much to me. Yes, there was it's so easy to explain what happened to Abel Tasman in the last race. It's well known that there was some sort of a cold, some sort of a sickness going through the Baffert barn. Why Baffert still rode him is a big question mark. So that, to me, is an opportunity where we're getting Abel Tasman, who on her best day will easily beat Monomoy Girl. The 4-year-olds beat the 3-year-olds when we're dealing with female horses at this level. The older horses really take advantage of the 3-year-olds in this spot. Also, Mike Smith is doing all the information for us by choosing to ride McKinsey instead of West Coast. I think McKinsey's very live. I'm very worried about Catholic Boy. Catholic Boy is a dangerous horse, multi-talented. But thank you so much for watching that. It means the world to hear those things. And Donnie, my man, another one in the books. Would you put a bow on
we'll
this
close
bad
this
boy?
one out here. I think it was appropriate there that we get after, Catholic Boy having a little bit of trouble. There's a lot that are having trouble at this point, but that's neither here nor there. Thanks for tuning in again. Over an hour and a half of live breakdowns, completely free of charge. Where are you going to get that? No less than sportsbookreview.com, right here on the Audible. It's always nice to be with Whale Capper and Jimmy. Information is king in this business. Maybe you heard something along the way over the last hour and a half that helps you in your bets on Sunday. Thanks for the people coming into the chat box. If you don't come in, the show doesn't go anywhere. Me and Jimmy and the Whale Capper just talking some vacuum in here, but it's always nice to have the pushback there. Something that you might not understand that we say, something that you say that we don't understand. It's what makes everything go here. It's why this environment at sportsbookreview.com is so much fun, because we have the added input of the chat box, knowledgeable people giving their information back and forth. It's not about the picks that we give out. It's about the information that we trade back and forth, designed for you, the gambler, to push that button and win tickets here. For Jimmy the Bag, for the Whale Capper out there in his nice environment as usual, this has been sportsbookreview.com's The Audible. Cash those tickets Sunday. We'll see you back here on Tuesday, folks.